Okay, we've got the crankshaft washed up. Got the timing gears just put on the crank. One thing that I was going to show also is these timing sets do have the proper ID and the proper shoulder to use with aftermarket crankshafts that have the Windsor snout. I know that's been kind of an issue over the years of having the timing chain alignment with Clevelands and Windsors, and the cranks kind of being crossbreeds between Windsors and Clevelands. But one thing to check is once you put it all together. Oh, and one other thing, you can see our thrust plates in there. The thrust plates that we are providing with the Titus block is an 1/8 of an inch thicker in thickness this way, or thicker than the standard Cleveland one. So what we're doing is we have a thicker, more robust timing set, but with that we've had to adjust the front block, the machined area here on the front of the block where the thrust plate goes. We've had to make that adjustment so that the timing gear lines up top and bottom. Now, one of the things you want to check, and this is again just general engine building, doesn't necessarily pertain to Titus blocks, but stock blocks, aftermarket blocks, or any other kind of blocks, is once you put them on, just put a straight edge like that against the front of the gears. And that will tell you if your timing chain is going to be in alignment. So if you put your timing chain on, you know that the top gear is in alignment with the bottom gear. You know you're not going to have any binding on the chain, and you'll probably notice a lot better chain life. We've noticed on some engines that the timing chain alignment just isn't, let's say, nice. So the other thing, assembling, when I put my crankshaft in the block, I use just regular oil. I don't like using grease when I put them together. I like the feel of knowing how things should feel, and I want to know what the engine feels like when it's turning over, so I'm not a big fan of putting grease on it. I know some people like using grease, or even in the old days used STP or something like that. I don't really care to do that because I like the feel of the engine. I want to know what the cam is going to feel like when I'm turning it. I want to know what the crankshaft is going to feel like when I'm turning it. And we have our bearing clearances set, but it should still have a certain feel to it, that when you roll it over, it should just have a nice smooth feel. You shouldn't feel any drag or anything like that. So that's why I like to use oil, and naturally we prime all the engines before we start them anyhow. One other thing to check while you are washing up your parts and everything, when you're washing the crankshaft, especially aftermarket crankshafts that have holes drilled in them in the ends, and especially crankshafts that have gun drilling, make sure you wash those guys out really, really good, because the crankshafts usually get shipped, they have cosmoline on them. They're not final washed naturally when you get them from whoever made the crankshaft, and there's usually probably grit and grime in here that gets trapped in the cosmoline, that once the engine gets up to temperature and you get a lot of oil splashing around in there, it'll find its way out of there then, and you don't want that to happen. So after we run a brush through all the holes in the crankshaft just like we did in the block, make sure that all those are nice and clean. But just double check when you're washing your crankshaft. Make sure you wash all these things out. As a matter of fact, once you get done washing it, wash it again, because it probably still has junk in it. We'll go ahead and get a piston and a rod put in this, and then we'll go ahead and degree the cam in it. And then usually after I degree the cam with one piston and rod, I usually put the timing cover on the front so I can put my timing pointer on it and make sure that my pointer is exactly top dead center with piston number 1, so that when the engine's being timed and tuned, that when you set it at 32 degrees, you know it's 32 degrees, or whatever degrees you're tuning your engine to. So just, I know sometimes that usually happens after the fact, but just something that I usually do during the front portion of it, since I'm already using the dial indicator to find true top dead center while I'm degreeing the cam anyhow, I might as well go ahead and do that then. Be back.